Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 16th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully the day treated you nice, it treated you right. As for me, it was a good day. Work was pretty easy, no muss, no fuss. We got in there in a nice, timely fashion. We got out of there in a nice, timely manner. I will say I was a bit sleepy post-work, so I went straight home and I took a nap, got myself back up, headed out to the gym, did about an hour at the gym. It was busy, but we got through it, no problems. And then came back home, had my stretch, had a snack, did some research for today's episode, I guess, depending on when you're listening. But yeah, overall, it was a good day. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Ooh. Okay. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. What to know about Atlanta area attacks that killed two, including a federal worker. A man who served in the U.S. Navy after immigrating from Britain has been charged in a string of deadly attacks in the Atlanta suburbs that quickly drew the attention of President Donald Trump's administration. UK native Alokutian Adon Abel, whose name appears in different variations in court and government records, is accused of killing two women, including a Department of Homeland Security employee, and critically injuring a man. Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullen called the shootings acts of pure evil and raised concern that Adon Abel, 26, was granted U.S. citizenship in 2022 when Democrat Joe Biden was president. Authorities have not given details about how he was caught. Here's what is, I'm going to read the sentence as is. Here's what is about the rampage. I'm sure they meant known, but hey, sometimes your little AI proofread, it just kind of fucks up. These things happen. What can I say? The attacks rattled the Atlanta suburbs in Decatur, Brookhaven, and Panthersville in the early morning hours Monday. The first victim, 31-year-old Priyana Weathers, was found with gunshot wounds near a Decatur area fast food restaurant around 1 a.m. She was taken to a hospital but died, the DeKalb County Police Chief Gregory Padrick said. Then around 2 a.m., a 49-year-old homeless man was shot multiple times while sleeping outside a grocery store in Brookhaven, about 12 miles northwest of the first attack. Brookhaven Police Chief Brandon Gurley said. The man, whose name hasn't been released, remains hospitalized in stable but critical condition, authorities said Thursday. DHS worker Lauren Bullis, who was walking her dog more than 10 miles away in Panthersville, was found around 7 a.m. with gunshot and stab wounds. She died at the scene, Patrick said. Investigators in Brookhaven determined that the three attacks were connected, Gurley said. Now, I don't know if they mean best connected by one suspect or connected in terms of like there's an actual connection to them. I'm assuming it's the former. Authorities have said they believe at least one victim was targeted at random. So that's why I don't know. We're obviously gonna have to wait for more details on the story. They do a bit of a focus on the DHS employee, and then of course obviously the fact that This man was an immigrant of the UK and has a military record here. I mean, there's just a lot of layers to this, and a lot that like you can see from especially the right conservatives wanting to make hay about and saying, "Hey, this is why our president is doing what needs to be done." Okay, get those bad ones out of here. I mean, that is essentially the chit chat that is going around in those kind of spheres, in those kind of circles. Unfortunately, because that's not going to change or solve your problem. It's not going to undo the situation. At the end of the day, these are killings that have happened, and it's unfortunate and it's very sad. But overreacting and making these kind of sweeping things or trying to justify this with whatever the fuck ICE is doing, they don't actually correlate. So. Let's see. Military records show the defendant enlisted in the Navy in 2020, last serving in the Helicopter Marine Strike Squadron in Coronado, California. As a petty officer, received a Navy E ribbon for superior performance, for battle readiness. Adon Abel pleaded guilty in October of 2024 to assaulting 2 police officers with a deadly weapon and attacking another person when he was stationed in Coronado, according to California court records. Excuse me. He's accused of malice murder, aggravated assault, and gun charges over Monday's attacks, court records show. He waived an initial court appearance Tuesday, and a public defender listed as his attorney did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Mullen said Adon Abel has a criminal record that includes a sexual battery conviction. Online court records show that someone listed with a similar name and a similar birth date pleaded guilty last June in Chatham County, Georgia, to 4 misdemeanor counts of sexual battery. It wasn't immediately clear if Adon Abel had a criminal record that predated him becoming a U.S. citizen in 2022. The U.S. has long barred people convicted of most violent crimes from attaining citizenship. All right. Let's move on to our next story, also from the Associated Press. Justin Fairfax killed his estranged wife and himself 2 weeks before a court deadline to move out. Former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, a rising star in the Democratic Party until sexual assault allegations ruined his political fortunes, killed his estranged wife and then himself weeks before a judge's deadline to move out of their family home, according to police and court records. Officers called to the home in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Annandale? We're going to say Annandale. Early Thursday found the bodies of Fairfax, 47, and his wife, Dr. Serena Fairfax, 49. Fairfax County Police Chief Kevin Davis said. That's a lot of Fairfaxes, sorry. Justin Fairfax fatally shot his wife, a successful dentist, in the basement before going to an upstairs bedroom and killing himself, Davis said. Their son called 911. One of Justin Fairfax's longtime friends told the Associated Press that he had become increasingly despondent after his wife filed for divorce last year. The judge overseeing the divorce recently wrote that his isolation, drinking, and lack of participation in family life are manifestations of what seems to be a sense of fatalism and hopelessness. Let's see here. Less than a decade ago, Justin Fairfax's political career was taking off. He won the race for lieutenant governor in 2017 and seemed poised to become Virginia's second black governor 2 years later when Democratic Governor Ralph Northam faced widespread calls to resign over a racist photo in his medical school yearbook. Fairfax would have become governor if Norton had stepped down. But 2 women came forward accusing Fairfax of sexually assaulting them years earlier. Fairfax said the encounters, which occurred before he was married, were consensual and refused calls to resign. He tried to run for governor in 2021, but was largely shunned by Virginia Democrats and defeated in the Democratic primary. Serena Fairfax said in court filings that she and her husband separated nearly 2 years ago, but they were still living in the same house with their 2 teenage children, who were both home when the deaths occurred, Davis said, which is obviously very sad on top of what already happened. There's a whole murder-suicide. It's your parents, and you have to call it in? Jesus fucking Christ. In a March 30th order, the judge told Justin Fairfax to move out by the end of April, writing, "It is clear tensions in the Fairfax home have been extremely high for an extended period of time." The judge said in court documents that Justin Fairfax's mental and emotional health suffered after two setbacks: his unsuccessful 2013 campaign for Democratic nomination for Attorney General and the 2019 sexual assault scandal. After both, he drank heavily and withdrew from his family. But while it took about a month to recover from the first setback, he never bounced back from the second. Now, I kind of don't like this. It's kind of strewn about like throughout the article. I don't think they're meaning to like blame anyone else, but the situation at hand, whatever. But it's very frustrating where it's like, yeah, he just kind of spiraled and he really retreated and da da da. It's like, yes. But at no point in any of this does it okay where it's like, hey, man, instead of any of these moments where you have to go and face any music or any kind of potential consequences or whatever accusations, yada. Or in the situation of your failing now over marriage where you have to face the music of it's time to, moving on, moving out, getting out of here. Essentially, your deadline is set and it's time for you to go. Your wife is like, yeah, man, no, we can't keep doing this. You're soon to be ex-wife, whatever. He goes, oh, actually, I'm just gonna shortcut this whole situation. I'm gonna kill you and then take my own life. It's like, no, man. Like, the only people I feel bad for is, Serena Fairfax and the family and the rest of the family. At the end of the day, this person said, oh, man, this fucking sucks. I can't believe life is doing me like this. I can't believe it's so bad. Da, da, da. And it doesn't seem like there's any responsibility being taken here at any given point. And instead he goes, oh, I'll just take some agency here and now. And instead of, buying a gun, and instead of initially he was supposed to get horseback lessons for his family, he bought a firearm. And with said firearm, he decided to use it on his wife and himself. It's like, no, man. Like, this is some shit that's on you. This is your responsibility. Yes, you have a mental health problem, but that is your responsibility. I just don't have any other way to see it. Obviously, if you're struggling with your mental health, please get help. Do something. Like, you gotta fight for it. You gotta want to be here for sure. And people are going to be out there and want you to be alive, be here with them. I'm sure, despite whatever things they were going through, they wanted him to be okay. That was their dad. That was their husband. Their person. Whoever. You know what I mean? They valued him. They didn't want him to throw away his life like how he was, and then how he did in the final. No. It is so sad and so unfortunate and so avoidable, all of this shit. But instead, this guy is like, nope, I don't want to take responsibility for anything. This is all everyone else's fault. I gotta do this now to make it all right. No, dude, fuck you. I'm sorry, fuck you for that. That's fucked up. That's messed up. So, I don't know. I know this is a bit of a maybe not the right way to go about saying it, but I just... This just makes me feel away. I don't know how else to say it. Serena Fairfax testified during the divorce proceedings that her husband drank daily and that his living space was littered with empty wine bottles and piles of dirty laundry. He bought a handgun in 2022 with money intended for horseback riding lessons for their children. Court records show. Like, brother, like you're just misprioritizing everything from this moment and saying, man, if I had just won, if I had just became governor, everything would have been okay. Like, if those two women hadn't accused me of a thing I did not do, I didn't do it. It's like, at this point, brother, whether the accusations are valid or not, you are not handling things the correct way. I'm sorry. I'm not an expert, but it's like, this is not the way to go about it. You cannot just retreat into yourself, retreat into your home, and just completely give up. No, man. So it's just, like I said, man, it's really fucking sad to see. I'll read this part too. She told the Associated Press that during a group text with her and another friend Tuesday night, he expressed how the recent sexual assault allegations against Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell of California had brought back for him what he continued to insist was an unfair rush to judgment. People are just not being fair to me. It's just not fucking right, man. I'm just like that guy. And already here, then, if these are your fucking like-minded compatriots, and I'm not talking about party allegiance, I'm talking about you guys are both doing some fucking allegations, doing some things that you shouldn't be fucking doing to women, then, man, you're already on the losing side of this fucking shit, man. I don't know what to tell you. You're the villain in the story. So, like I said, condolences to the family on this shit, but fuck that. Like, you gotta fight. You gotta want to be here. And to sit there and say, not only do I not want to be here, but I want to take someone else's life. I want to take the mother of my 2 children away. I want to take this bright light away from the world because I'm sad and upset and I want to give up. No, man, that's fucked up. That's just murder to me. Like, that's what I'm going to focus here on, like, just first and foremost. Like I said, I don't know why I'm getting so arced up. Maybe I do, and I just don't want to get into the fucking guts of it. It's, I know this is a very touchy subject for everyone, and suicide is a very painful thing. But yeah, you gotta fight. You gotta do your best. That's all I can say. I implore you. You are loved. You are wanted in this world, but you gotta want to fucking be here. And yeah, times get rough. Times get fucking tough. But you gotta live your best life. You gotta be your best person. If not for you, then for your family. And not for your family, for the people who do give a fuck about you. If not for anybody, then hopefully for your goddamn self. I don't know, man. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to really say about that. I mean, I'm sure there's some more we could go into. Details. Shit, man, I'm no Logic, okay? I know there's hotlines and stuff like that. I guess I should maybe reference it here. I think they have it in this article. Let me scroll up. Here we go. 988lifeline.org. If you are having any of those kind of ideations, things of that nature, because there is help out there. You are wanted. Just that aside alone. But anyway, let's move on. Let's see. We're gonna get a little bit global here from the BBC. Unprecedented fire at Australian Unprecedented fire at Australian oil refinery to affect nation's petrol supplies. A major fire at one of Australia's 2 oil refineries has been extinguished, but the damage has deepened fears over the nation's petrol supplies amid a global fuel crunch. Emergency crews rushed to Viva's Corio oil refinery in Geelong, southwest of Melbourne, just before midnight local time on Wednesday after reports of explosions and flames. The blaze was put out on Thursday after burning for 13 hours. No one was injured, with dozens of workers on site when it broke out. Evacuated safely. Sorry, I got mealy mouth there. The refinery, which produces 50% of Victoria's fuel and 10% of the nation's, is still partially operational, but the government has warned of impacts of petrol production. Energy Minister Chris Bowen said the fire was not great timing, with Australia's fuel supplies under pressure since war broke out in Iran, creating a global oil crisis. Now, I kind of want to make an aside here just to kind of, I guess, talk about the Iran war a little bit, at least in terms of like a bird's eye. Because, we've been focusing on the actual conflict in itself, but the energy crisis is something I've only maybe touched on once or twice. I mean, it, quote unquote, hasn't affected America per se. There's a lot of countries that are like, no, we're fine. We have our own oil. We can just, release more. We're good. But there's a certain kind of like aftermath effect, and it hits in waves. And for like Asia, it was pretty immediate. Like, we need to fucking start saying, hey, we're going on 4-day work weeks. If you have an odd or even license plate, you'll be able to drive on this or that day. It was starting to get really tight really quick, and I'm talking within like 2 or 3 weeks of this shit. And now we're on like what I think we're going on almost our second month. I think 40 something odd days of this conflict. So things are very tight. Everyone is on their haunches. I mean, the economy was already taking a fucking beating, and this war has only made shit worse. So naturally for Australia, something like this, it's like, hey, we're not, completely blown out by this. There's no pun intended here. But this is only making a tough situation even harder, even rougher. Making our margins even slimmer. So, that sucks. And I'm sure for, people living in Australia, that somehow, some way is going to drastically affect prices for them, or at least they're going to see it at the pump or at the store or whatever. So in that regard, that's really why I felt, pretty more compelled to cover this, even though no one was hurt. That's obviously good news. We love to see that. We'd love to be able to cover a situation where it's like, hey, silver lining, everyone made it out of the refinery, nobody died. Yes, awesome. And technically the refinery is still operational, so it's not the complete worst thing. I haven't really taught thought or talked about any like potential environmental issues from this, but that's always a thing at play, right? I'm sure there's some brainiac here. Actually, this is very bad. I don't know, maybe. But that being said, I at least wanted to cover it in terms of that. Also, that segues a bit into our next story because we are going to be talking about a new ceasefire in Lebanon, between Lebanon and Israel. So let's go ahead and hit that real quick. Once again, from the Associated Press. A 10-day ceasefire agreed on by Israel and Lebanon goes into effect. All right, let me take a little water break. Okay. A 10-day truce began in Lebanon on Friday that could pause fighting between Israel and the Hezbollah militant group and boost attempts to extend the ceasefire between Iran, the United States, and Israel after weeks of devastating war. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the agreement as a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. However, Israel has not been fighting with Lebanon itself, but rather with the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants inside the country, who are not formally a part of the agreement. I love them saying that, but it's like, brother, who has Israel been hitting? Like, oh, well, we're hitting those areas. They're there. Well, you're killing innocent civilians all along the way throughout this entire fucking process. You're displacing all of those people. Yeah. We're hitting Hezbollah, and that's what this war is about, okay? That and our right to defend ourselves, okay? Don't forget that, all right? This is about killing the terrorists, okay? All right? Don't you understand? We're still doing that, always. Barrages of gunshots rang out across Beirut as residents fired into the air just after midnight to celebrate the beginning of the truce. And I also got to add, I mean, they went into direct talks. What was it? I think it was at like the top of this week, right? Or maybe it was like last week. You know, I'm a little fuzzy on that. This is all kind of happening. And it didn't seem like they were really going anywhere. But that being said, it seemed like the Trump administration was like, look, we need this shit to kind of limp along. You need to play along. At least it's turning, Trump, administration to Israel. And Israel's like, okay, we don't want to do that. We wanted to kind of keep our atrocities, just kind of keep milling, keep drumming on. But we'll chill. We'll at least talk. And that was historical in and of itself, having direct talks. Even though in this situation, we're talking about Lebanon, quote unquote, Lebanon proper, as opposed to not Hezbollah. They're not in the negotiating room. In fact, Hezbollah said, don't do this. Don't. Like, you're only going to make this shit worse if you do it, so don't bother. Don't do it. And they're like, no, we're going to do it. And they said, hey, we're going to come work with you. We don't want to work with Hezbollah, da-da-da-da. But they really didn't get anywhere. They just talked. And then after that, essentially, Trump's like, oh, no. We got a truce. We got a 10-day truce. And in fact, they're going to come here to the White House, both sides. So we'll see. There's that. This was very integral to the Iran, Israel, U.S. ceasefire. Even though U.S. and Israel tried to say, no, it has nothing to do with it. Even though it's like, no, that is what we all agreed with. We came to Pakistan, or, we went through Pakistan and agreed to this plan. Then we went to Pakistan, didn't agree to fucking shit, didn't get anywhere. And things are still very tenuous. But there is this bit of back and forth, once again, through Pakistan itself, that maybe they might come to the table again proper, and maybe they'll get somewhere. I don't know. It seems that they sit down and they really want to keep hammering home this whole nuclear thing, which is so fucking stupid because it's like, brother, last year, the Trump administration in Israel bragged about how they pummeled the shit out of their fucking nuclear program. And they ground that shit into dust. But now we're still saying that they're weeks away from making a nuclear bomb. They cannot get the story straight. There's no way you fucking believe this shit. But it doesn't matter. It's not about belief. At the end of the day, there's a core group of people that will believe anything that this administration doles out. And at the end of the day, they're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do and ask questions later. That's just the way that this shit is going to keep going. So I don't know. Is this an actual ceasefire that's going to lead to any kind of peace, either between Iran or Lebanon or in Israel and all that shit? I don't know. I would like to think. I would like to hope so. Tomorrow never knows. What can I say? That's all I have for that part of the story or the episode in terms of going global. Let's take it back to the States. Let's wind it on back. We have an update on D4vd, which goddamn about fucking time. Let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out. Speaking of phasing some fucking music. Speaking of murdering a loved one, potentially, allegedly. Oh my gosh. All right. From ABC News. Singer D4vd arrested after teen found dead in his Tesla. The singer D4vd has been arrested in connection with the death of a teenage girl whose decomposing body was discovered in September in the trunk of a towed Tesla registered to the singer, the Los Angeles Police Department told ABC News. Officials said D4vd, whose legal name is David Burke and is a 21-year-old resident of Los Angeles, is being held for the alleged murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez without bail. Sources told ABC News the arrest is based on evidence and probable cause that was developed. It was not an indictment. The LAPD said the case will be presented to the LA District Attorney's Office on Monday for filing consideration. For filing consideration. Rivas Hernandez, a 14-year-old from Lake Elsinore, hopefully I'm getting that right, in Riverside County, was reported missing in 2024, investigators confirmed to ABC News in October. According to sources at the time, the girl's body was dismembered, and the process of dismembering and disposing of her body is believed to have likely involved more than one person. The teen may have been dead for several weeks before her body was discovered, police said. Officers responded to an impound lot in Hollywood on September 8th for a foul odor coming from a vehicle, Los Angeles police said. Authorities located a body in the front truck of the Tesla that was in a state of decomposition. The Tesla had been at the impound lot for 2 days after being abandoned on a Hollywood street, investigators said. The towed vehicle was registered to Burke. D4vd, who first went viral on TikTok, where he has nearly 4 million followers, had been on his Withered World Tour when the body was discovered in his vehicle. The last few shows of the tour, including those in San Francisco and Los Angeles, were canceled. Shows on the European leg of the tour were also canceled. Promotion on the deluxe edition of the Romantic Homicide singer's debut album, which was set to be released on September 19th, was also paused. A source close to the situation previously told ABC News. So this is a story we covered, a couple of times since it came up, it hit the radar. I really thought he was going to be arrested a lot sooner. I know that law enforcement can move at its own pace. I was talking to a friend actually before I went on, and I'm like, I'm hoping the reason it took as long as it did was because they want a slam dunk case, and now they know they have a slam dunk case. It's also worth noting, too, to kind of just, scroll back up to what they mentioned in the article, that most likely he wasn't acting alone in this. Maybe he is the murderer. That's what I'm thinking, and, that's what my suspicion had on or whatever. But someone probably helped them, and maybe they were trying to connect all the dots, get all the ducks in a row, so they don't just get him, but they get everyone involved. That good if that's the case. Time's gonna tell there. I don't fucking know. Is this where I say yes? Better late than never. Good. Obviously, it's a very fucked up story. Just in the relationship between them alone, that's a problem. That was bad. Yuck. Eek. But then also the fact that, you have the fact that he murdered her, and it seemed like he was was making songs about it, or was on tour, not even giving a fuck, whatever. Just the story was really fucking macabre in its own fucking way. And it was just weird for him to have come back home, from this whole tour shit, and then, he's just chilling, he's just vibing, and we don't have any charges or anything like that. So yeah, good that we are at least at this point in the situation now, and I guess we're gonna go from there. Yeah, better late than never. Fuck it, I don't know. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for today, for tonight. That is the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Put you on the roll call, shout you out at the top of the month. If you're into that, plug a project if you like. It's a shout out thing if you want. You can shout out somebody else, whatever. You can just do your thing there with that. Also, there are some old archived and or bonus episodes. Not many. It's not crazy, but just occasional extra stuff. Sometimes, some things I cover there that are just easier to cover. You can kind of consider this an unfiltered thing, but there are some things that I don't even feel great covering on main. So sometimes I put it on the side. Sometimes it's personal, whatever, lore through a news story that kind of connects. You just got to go through the crates on that if you're interested. But that's okay if not. By all means, it's a tip jar at the very end of the day. And if you don't feel like tipping, that's okay. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on the Spotify or Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. But if you don't have to do any of that, it's fine. If you were just hanging out with me for the one time just to see what this is like, it just popped up. Thank you, algorithm. Right on. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you didn't hate it, and if you want to do it again, I usually get on here about every, 5-6 times a week, something like that these days. I'm a pretty consistent yapper. Maybe not the best. I'm no expert, but, been known to jaw a little bit. But if not, you hated it, hey, thanks for giving it a try. And if you're a long-time listener, thank you so much. I love you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.